Hello everyone. If you have been following the news about BRICS, you would have realized that it is becoming important, which is why many countries are lining up to join it, including Malaysia. But what about ASEAN as a whole? Are there advantages for ASEAN? This is what we are going to discuss today. I urge you to stick on until the end of the short video. I shall share some of my thoughts. I shall focus my discussion on 4 different points. Number 1, let us understand what BRICS is all about and how it operates. We all know that it was established in 2009. It stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But did you know that BRICS does not have a charter or a fixed secretariat? What is BRICS' overarching objective? It is aimed at introducing a more multipolar world. So how does it do it? BRICS has embarked on a 2-pronged strategy. The first prong is to address the global financial architecture. As we know that since World War II, the main institutions that were created are the IMF and the World Bank. And IMF provides emergency funding to member countries which has temporary liquidity crisis, whereas the World Bank loans out money to member countries to carry out development projects. The funds come with very strict conditions, and therefore there is a resentment among many developing countries and in the third world that these institutions are biased towards Western interests. So, to overcome this, BRICS has established 2 new mechanisms. One is known as the New Development Bank. It is something like the World Bank. It is made up of capital from its own members. Currently, it has a $50 billion paid up capital. The second is what is known as the Contingency Reserve Agreement, or CRA. This one is also a kind of fund of about $100 billion made up of contribution from the members. Now, the New Development Bank is straightforward. It provides loans to member countries which wants to carry out infrastructure projects. No conditions. The CRA is expected or is designed to provide temporary liquidity assistance to member countries that face financial crisis. Number 3, the second prong that BRICS uses is on shaping the global governance. How do they do it? They have separate formats. One of the formats is known as the IBSA Dialogue Forum. IBSA, IBSA, stands for India, Brazil, South Africa. Through this forum, they engage with the UN. So you can see, BRICS is carefully using a 2-pronged strategy to increase their influence on global affairs. Number 4, what should ASEAN do? To my mind, there's no question. ASEAN must engage with BRICS. After all, 3 of its members, Russia, India, and China, are ASEAN dialogue partners. We have free trade agreements with China through the RCEP, and we also have a free trade agreement with India. We have trading relations with all of them. So, ASEAN has its own sets of political and economic interests, and I think it's vital to have a conversation with BRICS to make sure that these interests are preserved and promoted. Now, let me take these interests one by one. The first interest, of course, is economic. We may have to look at perhaps new mechanisms that we could perhaps look at maybe accessing funds from the New Development Bank for ASEAN's own interests. ASEAN is currently focused on the connectivity problem within the region. On the political front, it's our interest to keep this region free from major power rivalry. But this is a bit more complicated because India is part of the Indo-Pacific, China is not, and ASEAN is caught somewhere in between. But we have no choice. That conversation is something that must be had. It is in the interest of BRICS as well as the Western countries to preserve ASEAN centrality and to keep this region free from their rivalry. And so, how do we do it? We do not have a formal structure. So I think it is time to think about creating some form of an ASEAN-BRICS mechanism. It need not be a full dialogue relationship because that's far too complicated, So, who can do it? I think the natural candidate is Malaysia. After all, Malaysia is going to be the incoming chair of ASEAN. So I think it is a responsibility that Malaysia has to undertake to at least have this conversation within ASEAN. So let me conclude. Although not all ASEAN members are on the same page as far as BRICS is concerned, I think BRICS is a fact that cannot be ignored. ASEAN must have a conversation about it. It is vital because ASEAN's interests are interlinked with the agenda that is undertaken by BRICS. If you liked this video, please hit the like, share and subscribe button. Thank you very much.